once again, the Dolphins clock over 40 points, 43-24 at Suncorp Stadium. The Dolphins attack. The Finns are on fire again. It's their 5th win from their past 7 games, where they've scored over 40 points in 5 of those wins. So they are absolutely sublime when it comes to attack. A man who's at the helm of all of that, Hamiso TABUI-FIDOW. They rested him last week against the Cronulla Sharks. They lost that game, but it paid dividends because he comes back, scores 2 tries, and now he leads the charge at 17 tries from 15 games, which happens to be his career best, and he is still counting 10 tries from his past 5 games. Hammer, a knock-on, cost him a first-half hat-trick, so isn't he airborne?
Yeah, there was a couple of opportunities where he probably could have got a couple more too. Every time they made a break, it felt like there was 3 or 4 Dolphins just competing for the ball. And I reckon that was the problem. Avarillo sort of just pops up at the last minute just inside him. And I think it spooked, was it Herbie who threw the pass?
Yep.
Or was it Lemuelu? Because they were having a field day down that left edge.
The right-hand side for the Cowboys has and is a big problem for Coach Payton.
Yeah, and look, and both edges, they had some joy. Here's the thing with the Dolphins. People have been saying, and rightly so, Kristian Woolf, he's got to be right up there with Sticky for me. I thought it was Sticky's Coach of the Year award to lose a couple of weeks ago. What Kristian Woolf is doing with this team, led by Isaiah Katoa, is extraordinary. And here's one for you, Shug. Next year, how do you fit into the back line? Let's just start with the back line because there's less headaches, but still headaches. With that impressive scoreline that they put on, they've got to somehow fit Jack Bostock, Cody Nikorima, and Selwyn Cobbo into that back line.
Cobbo, that's right.
So Cobbo's on the way for a 1-year deal.
Yep.
And in the forward pack, if everyone comes back healthy, and the big if is Tommy Flegler.
Yep.
Tom Flegler, Tom Gilbert, Daniel Saifidi, Max Plath, Felice Kafusi.
Yeah.
Where does Oren Keeley go? Where does Kurt Donahue go? Where does, what happens to Connolly Lemuelu? Like, Connolly Lemuelu might not be playing first grade next year in their best possible lineup. Like, they are so deep at the moment, and what they're doing is a real credit to Kristian Woolf because they lost the first 3 in a row at the start of the season. And, people were talking about, the coaches that come in after Wayne. He's done a great job.
So the British and Irish Lions are playing at Suncorp Stadium, and they were on hand to watch this game. Some of them were. And the English centre himself, Herbie Farnworth, he's off contract at the end of next year. So a free agent after November 1. He's a Dolphins priority, Perth, other teams, and possibly rugby after his services. He's a good-looking rooster, or Dolphin for that matter. He is well-placed, isn't he?
Yeah, really good spot. And the thing that helps Herbie out the most is he could get a really big contract, like a huge number, and deservedly so, because their most important player is locked up to 27, 28. Isaiah Katoa is only on $650,000.
Yep.
That is huge unders.
Yes.
He's $1 million player. So therefore, in the next couple of years at least, unless they end up changing that contract,
They have to.
I hope they do. I hope they just reward Isaiah Katoa because I want Isaiah Katoa to be at the Dolphins for the rest of his career.
Yeah, they have to, don't they? Like, you don't often see where a young superstar who is playing significant unders. In saying that, they have probably paid early days significant overs, hoping to see where he got to, which he has got to.
That's fair.
But at the same time,
he seems like a pretty switched on, really mature. Like if the Dolphins go to him, look, for sure, you're going to get paid. You're going to get a huge upgrade in the next 2 years on the window with the contract that you're on. If you can just stick with us for the next couple of years at that price, we can keep Herbie. We can upgrade some of these, like even they call him the junkyard dog, Kurt Donahue. That's what Kristian Woolf called him a couple of weeks ago in the presser. Like, I think he's another player. They got him really early with him. Like, he'd probably be on a couple 100,000.
But that's why they're hard to beat, the Dolphins.
Yeah.
They got that junkyard dog mentality, which is hard to beat. No one wants to play a junkyard dog. I know that much. Other performances, Jake Averillo, Billy Slater coming out about 3 weeks ago saying this kid is heavily, heavily underrated. You mentioned Lemuelu, one of his best performances, terrific edge player. And Jermaine Asako, just a star.
Yeah, Asako. A couple of years ago, a lot of these players, probably more so Jermaine Asako, went through a rough period at the back end with the Broncos, and it looked like, I remember watching the documentary with the Dolphins when they first started. He was a huge chance of going over the Super League.
Yep.
So he was about to head over the Super League and give it a crack over there. Who knows if he would have come back? But he just does everything right. And goal kicks at a high percentage too, which in this day and age, like, you've got to go up by sixes.
Yep, I totally agree with that. So I studied a lot on Hazem El Masri and the way he would, no matter where the kick was, he would jam it, you know. So I get a little bit agitated watching the ease of which Asako kicks.
Hits it smooth.
He just goes, taps it over. And John Daly says that if for amateur golfers, you should grip down and use a higher club and just hit it nice and smooth. And that's what
my man Asako, he come down to our golf day last year and is committed to both Isaiah Katoa and Jermaine Asako, a part of my golf day at the end of the year. They were the group in front of us for a little bit. Hits the most beautiful golf ball.
Is it a bit
as you'd expect?
Yeah, okay.
Just nice and smooth. 250 on the, in
good
flight down the middle of the fairway. Hits. I think he's off like maybe 8 or 9 or something like that. So yeah.
Well, if his goal kick is anything like his golf swing, it'll be a nice draw.
Yep.
That's what he'd be doing there for sure. Talk about buys of the year for certain clubs. Well, this guy here, Valentine Holmes, would certainly be in the conversation. Of course, Gutherson, a big buy in the off-season, but it appears, though, Scopey, that after suffering a serious shoulder injury, the full package, MC Michael Carianis through the Daily Telegraph reporting that in the loss to the Roosters last week, a serious shoulder injury means that Valentine Holmes becomes the second Origin player set for a long stint on the sideline. Latrell Mitchell's been ruled out for roughly 3 to 5 weeks. The full package is learning 3 to 5 weeks, not 4 to 6, 3 to 5, Brian, because of a quadricep injury, and Holmes requires surgery to repair a torn rotator cuff, that is, which will see him miss up to 6 months. So his season is done and dusted, which also has implications, Scopey, for the Ashes.
Yeah, the Ashes. 2 players that have just been a part of this Origin series too, Sugar.
Yep.
A little bit older. I think it's something that needs to be looked at. I think we talk about it all the time, and this, again, highlights it for me. Both these 2 players, if it feels like they've either done it at training, or I don't know if maybe Val had done it during the game and we weren't aware of it, and then it's sort of come out later. But like, it feels like it's so late in the week. But it's disappointing to lose 2 stars that would. Like, the Origin series is just so heavy now,
heavy.
And the physical toll that it puts on these players to back up. Todd Payton alluded to it last night. Tommy Dearden, Reuben Cotter, and Reece Robson have played 3 games in 8 days after having to back up and go through.
Well, I shared before the game yesterday, and I shared on air. I said, I'm so keen on the Dolphins 13 plus. Fletch said, why? I said, well, since, what was the date? I think it was like June 19 or something. This was their 4th or 5th game, the Dolphins. Sorry, the Cowboys. The Dolphins had come off a bye, and they'd played 1 game beforehand, so they were coming in fresh. They had the ability to rest Hamiso TABUI-FIDOW. Todd Payton didn't, had to play all his stars.
Yeah. And
he actually came out last week talking about how hard it is. And I think as soon as you put it out in the universe, you're in deep trouble.
Yeah, for sure. And, especially when you're struggling, like, they very rarely like to use things like this as an excuse, but it's for sure a factor.
Of course.
Yeah, it's disappointing now. Now we've got 2 of our biggest names, and the Dragons. Neither of these teams can afford to have injuries. It feels like South are just constantly injured. I don't know if there's some hoodoo at Heffron or the new park or whatever it's been, but it feels like since they moved there a couple of years ago, their top tier stars have just been injured the entire time.
Yep.
Latrell's been in and out of first grade and had obviously had coming off a big Origin series. Cam Murray did his Achilles at the same time that Latrell did his calf in that session at the start of the year. Cody Walker, what's going on with him? He can't stay healthy. Campbell Graham.
Is it coincidence or is it just what they're doing? I don't know. I'm not into this sort of stuff. But
yeah, I'm starting to think now that it's not a coincidence anymore. And I don't think I know. Well, I haven't had much to do with South at all, apart from the physio that is at South, and I've seen her on the sidelines. Vicky Locke, she was one of my favourite physios. She was awesome. My time at Parramatta when I was coming through, and I know how diligent she is, and I know how hard she works.
Yeah.
It could be the surface. It could, it has to be something that's factoring in.
Could be.
Or maybe you look at their high performance and what they're doing with the levels of training, because they've got to figure it out going into next year, because I think it's gone past the point where they've had so many injuries that for me, it's not a coincidence anymore. Anyway.
Very, very fascinating stuff. Let's go back to the omission of Val Holmes. So we're out of vowels. You can have a consonant, but there's no vowels. 7 centre outside backs, or, their kind of options there. Bobby Toyer, who probably is going to pick up the Rookie of the Year. Hamiso TABUI-FIDOW, of course, he's the fullback option, can easily play in the centres. I'm thinking at that level, maybe the easy way is to bolster up the absence of the likes of, Latrell Mitchell at this stage, and certainly Valentine Holmes. Maybe he considered that way. Bradman Best plays game 100 this week. Tommy Trebojevic, does he have a big finish to the season? Gemet Shibasaki, Zach Lomax is an option in the outside backs. And, of course, Tony Staggs had a great year. Hasn't found himself in representative honours, but, it's fascinating to see. If you're picking your back five right now, Scope, who is that?
Oh, it's a hard one too. You just don't know the eligibility as well. I've heard rumours around, the big boys up front and Payne Haas and Tino Fasul-Malawi potentially playing for Samoa. I'm hearing the same chat with Hamiso TABUI-FIDOW as well. So Rob Toyer, he's got Tongan eligibility. Katoni Staggs does as well.
Yep.
If they were all fit and available, Dylan Edwards fullback. I think Turbo right centre, Bradman Best left, Zach on one wing, and Hammer on the other.
No Coates.
Oh, Coates. Oh, yeah, because Coates wasn't there. Yeah, so Coates maybe left.
Hammer in the centres.
Hammer in the centres. Bradman Best misses out.
Okay, all right, folks. There's plenty
What
more
would
still
you
to come. Well, yeah, pretty similar. And, of course, the grand final and the semi-finals will play a major part in all of that, and ultimately health is going to play a part. I'll tell you, my daughter was talking to me the other day, so she's now out of school, but the team that she played for, in the Australian Schoolgirls competition, which is on right now, they're basically selecting the sides right now for the Australian Schoolboys and Schoolgirls. She was telling me that they've made a few changes for the New South Wales team. So what they do is they allow New South Wales and Queensland, who are typically going to be the stronger sides in a national comp, to select their sides, and then if you narrowly miss those sides, you can go into a player pool, and Western Australia pick you up, or South Australia pick you up, or Victoria pick you up, and then you play. So therefore, it does a couple of things. It adds strength to the tournament by those missing out get to play at a national tournament, and the weaker areas get bolstered by the better kids. Now, you couldn't quite do that with what we're doing, but is there any merit in the stronger teams or the tier 1 teams in whatever comp it is selecting their teams first, and in the event that you don't make those squads, then you are eligible to go and play for the country which you naturally tie into?
What, Samoa and Tonga and all those sorts of...
All
Mate, I think it's a different time, Sugar.
Yeah.
I don't think it, I think there are players now that, look at Jerome Loy, Stephen Crichton and Brian
Yeah,
Dyer.
that's right, yeah.
They don't even make themselves available for Australia.
That's true too.
They would, Stephen Crichton and Brian Toto, if they were part of it, that would be a huge chance.